Auction means action. We're going to break down tonight if it is truly an auction market. 3 recent sales from Novak. Team Novak suggests it is. Stay tuned. All right, the Sarge is back.
Oh, thank you. Almost past my bedtime, but I managed to stay up late tonight. We have a big coffee machine here, so I had a few delicious coffees.
It's true. It does come in useful at that 2 p.m., 3 p.m. siesta time.
All right. Auctions mean action. Billy, is it an auction market in DY?
Is it in DY? Is it just in the Novak office, or is it across Sydney? We're going to break down tonight. Firstly, what does the auction clearance rates look like for the city? What does it look like just off the back of our most 3 recent auctions, which have been really interesting results in their own way, but all in the green and very positive. And then finally, whether you think this should just be done across all properties.
Okay, so what is an auction? Well, with an auction, we have the main difference between an auction and a for sale with a guide is we have a deadline.
Yep.
And we also have the lights are on.
Casper the Ghost came
Yeah,
in.
we've got fantastic. That's a lot better. We've got fantastic staff here staying back to make sure. So we have an auction. We set a date. We work to that date. We have people bid transparently, so everyone knows what everyone else is wanting to pay.
Yeah.
And through that transparent bidding, we drive the price up. And in the last 3 cases in the office, we drive them over the reserve. Now, the reserve is the lowest price the owner will take.
Yep.
In general, or it could be the price the owner will take. So it's a price that we drive our offers over. I've done a lot of auctions. I was with the LJ Hooker franchise for a long time. We were in a real auction network, but a little bit more private. Truly, auction clearance rates, what were they this weekend, Billy?
Glenn, you've got the stats. I think they were pushing into mid-60s.
61%.
It's 61, okay.
61%.
So what does that mean? Break it down for us.
Well, I think we're getting more bullish in the auction market when we're around 80%.
Okay.
However, what's a little bit misleading with an auction clearance rate of 60% is that's 60% of the properties that went to auction sold and were reported selling within a 4-week period.
Yeah. So it's not 61% of Sydney properties selling via auction.
No.
It's 61% of the properties listed as a 4-week campaign
or 2-week
campaign. 2-week campain are selling on under the hammer.
No, they're selling within that period. I think you'd find. And the results are reported. They ring up. Yes, we sold it. And what's really interesting about that is I often wonder what would be the clearance rate of private treaty in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
What if we had a clearance rate of private treaty in 4 weeks? Would it be 60%? Would it be 80%? Would it be 50%? I would say it's probably lower at 50%.
It's but definitely vary, and of course you've got pre-market as well, so it's not all on realestate.com, but it's really interesting. And I think off the back, we went actually recently to some company training and listened to the Teslan conference where they do all of their sales by auction, even in what's advertised as a cool market.
Well, I think they do that. They have an urgency with their sales approach. They give both the buyers and seller a deadline when the property will be sold, if not before, and they work around that. It enables them to sell a lot of properties. Josh, sells more properties single-handedly than what some franchises do.
Sure.
You know, he's selling sort of one a day, and there'd be some franchise groups on the Northern Beaches that would love to have the same result. He's doing that out of an auction. At Novak, we really look at strategy. What is the best strategy for a property? What is the best strategy for the seller? And then we formulate whether we'll auction the property, whether we'll do a pre-market campaign, whether we'll go straight to realestate.com with a sales campaign.
Yep.
So every property is different. But our last three auctions, how did they go, Billy? You were involved in one. One was your sale.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about our team is we're all down there supporting each other. But one I was actually headlining, like the lead singer, alongside Mark. We had a 3-bedroom.
Who were you? Freddie Mercury?
Yeah, well, that's generous. Yeah, there's no moustache, but the most recent of our 3 that we're referencing over Saturday just gone, a 3-bedroom apartment in the Meriton complex, regarded as one of DY's most desirable and best built. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1 car. Price guide 1.395. Offers coming in pre-auction around that 1.5 mark, and sold under the hammer just above 1.6 million.
Yeah, really, really good result. We spoke a bit about this on Saturday. It's a bit like Groundhog Day. This one we had tried late last year, a private treaty campaign with a guide.
Yeah,
we couldn't get it sold. We've pulled the old levers, product price and promotion, changed that all up, ran an auction. We used our database really, really well, because we had an auction, we're going to talk about that in a minute, that sold over 560 over the reserve, a 3-bedroom unit.
Yep. We
used some of the buyers that were still looking after not securing that property, and it was a great auction. So let's move on to Hawkesbury Avenue, Billy. That was one.
It flows in nicely. So on to the next one. The week before, funny enough, we're almost working backwards here. We went to Hawkesbury Avenue, original 3-bedroom, this time 2-bath and a double lock-up garage. Reserve there, it was advertised at post-auction at 1.35 million, which was on the guide of the entire campaign. We didn't accept an offer prior. And the reason for that, the owners just wanted to run the process and know on the day selling high or low, they got fair market value. But where did it go from there?
Well, we shortened the auction period. So once again, flexibility. After 2.5 weeks on the market, we felt that we'd achieved the volume of buyers coming through. There was actually a concern. I think we had 120 buyers through in the 2.5 weeks. There was a concern that some of these buyers might not wait. You know, they might talk themselves out of purchasing. 18 registrations, 2.5 week campaign. How much over reserve did we go, Billy?
Yeah, reserve 135, sold for 192. Just unbelievable.
And the reserve was around our guide price. I think they were the same. So realistic guide, realistic owner, but just that transparent competition between people wanting to get. This was a little bit of a unicorn property in the sense that incredibly large in size, double brick construction, small block of 6. The builder that built these built some other properties in Oaks Avenue. We've done extremely well.
Yeah.
And Billy, the little farm mouse, sold another one in conjunction with the great Lisa Novak, #1 on the Northern Beaches, week in, week out. But we weren't on the Northern Beaches. We were in the big, scary Surrey Hills.
Yeah, this actually closed out pre-auction. Such a strong offer that the owner's instructions were to grab it with both hands and get it signed, sealed, and delivered. Price guide there was 820 and closed at 960. Unbelievable, really.
So were there multiple offers, Billy, or just one?
There were multiple offers sitting in the high 8s, low 9s. One that really stood apart from the pack, so to speak. And I think as a vendor, if you're looking to consider anything pre-auction, that's what gives then the certainty that they've got, the result they're looking for, an offer that stands out.
Well, we always say to vendors, "Oh, should I take a pre-auction offer?" It has to be a price that they won't regret later. So it has to be something where it's like a life-changing price. So when you've got the rest of the pack in the high eights and then you're exchanging at 960, that's 10% over almost. Any day you get 10% over market, it's quite life-changing. So this, once again, not just cookie cutter, doing the best for the vendor. We could have run an auction. We might have cleared 900. So we used an approach there where we weren't transparent. We didn't tell each other the other offers and then negotiated a high price. Once again, Lisa Novak was on that, Billy and Michael, the one that went for 192, Lisa again. Some fantastic results in the offers. On top of that, there were a lot of private treaty sales last week as well.
I think one of our busiest runs as an office, we were almost doing one a day combined between the team.
Oh no, I think it was more than that because the old stage you got 2 last week. So if I'm getting 2 with you young kids here, you're probably doing 22. So, but once again, different strategies. Some sold pre-market, some ran a campaign, some sold on 5-day calling off, some sold on 10. Others we asked for unconditional contracts. So I think the main thing in a market that's slowly improving, as the market improves, it doesn't just go up in a linear fashion. It's a little bit patchy. Some properties, some properties attract more buyers than others. When people are a bit wary, they go after the blue ribbon or the cream. They think like, if I'm going to spend money, I want to make sure it's the perfect property. So those with a few quirks are a little bit more challenging to sell. The standout properties, we find we have a greater number of buyers going to.
And on the topic of standout properties, the last one I really want to mention, and I like how these properties are all staggered across different price points. It's not like one's better than the other, but the crown jewel to this story is 21 Pitt Road.
Go, Billy.
3 or 4 weeks now back. We had this one go. No, 3 weeks. This has been back to back to back. 3 weekends in a row now. We've had an auction and sold successfully. 21 Pitt Road, and not almost a knockdown rebuild, you'd say?
Oh, look, the people going in there, they'll renovate it. Pitt Road overlooks North Kilkeel Beach, which is arguably one of the best beaches on the northern beaches. Entry price in North Kilkeel is probably around $3 million without a view. But this was adjacent to a park. But it was a tenanted property. There were DA plans to do some work there. Will you run an auction? And
yes, and it sold for arguably quite big money. This one cracked a 4 from memory. I think we were going 375 there, sold for 4.3. Again, well in excess of the guide and the reserve, and that was a result that broke people into tears, the vendors, and said it was a life-changing result.
Yeah, and without telling you how many teeth the vendor has and what they do, they were actually in the legal side of real estate. So right across valuations, right across how you price a property correctly, how you guide within the legislation, and fantastic results. I actually know the family going in, they're friends with my daughter. They're over the moon as well. So not only the vendor loved the sale, they did too. Once again, it's a transparent process. So Billy, we've told a lot of war stories tonight, old war stories, but auction or not to auction, how do you decide?
It's tricky. If it was your property or if it was your mum's property, what would you do? Or what's the rule of thumb here?
Well, I think it's 61% clearance rate. We have to be careful and not just listen to when we win the battle. We've got to listen to when talking about war stories, when maybe we have to surrender a little bit in the auctions pass in as well. I think you have to really talk to your agent. What's their strategy? What sort of buyers they think they'll get to the property, how they'll react to that strategy.
Yep.
So first home buyers generally, the whole process is scary. So an auction is nightmare on Elm Street stuff for them. Investors, why should I wait 4 weeks to go to auction when I can just buy a similar property, generally strata units down the road for the same price? So possibly for those properties with 61% clearance rate, I would stick to a pre-market campaign, if not sold, run to an on-market campaign, private treaty.
Yep.
However, with the market improving, if you have something where you think you could have multiple buyers at a similar price, then auction would be the way to go. Also, too, you have to look at yourself as a vendor. Am I robust enough for the auction process too? Because you are winding down on a timeline.
Yep.
And, on auction day, not only you're stressed, we're stressed as well. Billy had some fingernails before his auction now, none to be counted. So once again, if you're choosing an agent and how to sell, I think it's always important that they have a strategy that's suited just for your property. Not a strategy that the franchise runs, not a strategy that the principal thinks works right, not a strategy that possibly, the greatest agent in Australia uses for every one of his properties.
Or even one that is just based off a clearance rate.
Yeah, it has to be something that suits your property, suits you, suits what you want to achieve. Just sort of rambling on from that, often vendors want a flexible settlement or a long settlement. Possibly auction isn't the way to go in those circumstances, because we've got to get a lot of people with a common price, wanting common terms, buying a property that they all think they need to have.
That's it. I think that's really sound advice. I hope we have helped someone who's on the fence. If you know anyone on the fence of whether they should be auctioning or taking action elsewhere, reach out. Even if it's out of area, we would love to help and offer an opinion.
Yeah, and if you see Billy out and about, Billy's been doing his work. He's been, obviously doing, you'll see him on the broadcast, and he's been filling in for Michael Sillage. Congratulations. Beautiful wedding yesterday.
Yeah.
To his childhood sweetheart. Marvellous day. I think Michael's gone back to back every week for about 3 years, so they have a couple of weeks off. But Billy's had to jump into those big shoes. So if you see Billy out and about on the town or find him asleep at a bus stop, you'll understand why.
Have a good evening, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for your time, Glenn. And as I said, reach out if we can help, guys. We'd love to assist.